Bend Police Department. Want to let you know our conversation is being recorded.
Okay.
Do you know why I've stopped you?
Yeah, I was driving the wrong way coming over here.
Okay. Any explanation?
Yeah,
This is a scene that's repeated day after day in Central Oregon. A driver's been pulled over and run through a few sobriety tests to gauge his or her ability to drive.
Whenever you're ready.
ODOT teams up with Bend Police, Oregon State Troopers, county sheriffs, and they're all on the lookout for drivers who appear to be under the influence of intoxicants, DUI.
Impaired driving is something that has had a huge impact on fatalities over the years. And so in order to reduce fatalities and make the road safer, impaired driving is a place that we've had to be focused. Not only driving under the influence of alcohol, but driving under the influence of drugs.
The reason I stopped you is because of your headlight, and it didn't look like you had your seatbelt on either.
Often at a traffic stop, the motorist simply complies with the officer's instructions, proves his or her ability to handle the wheel, and then goes on. Too many times, it's a different result. An arrest and a ride to the jail for more processing, and if found to be under the influence, more and more involvement into the system. Deeper and deeper into the world of law enforcement, attorneys, prosecutors, judges, and perhaps even criminal charges. Worse still, the physical and emotional toll.
Sometimes the people hurt themselves, and that's sad too, because they've made a mistake, and some of these folks are good otherwise, but they have caused injury to themselves that they'll have to live with the rest of their lives. Or they've caused an injury, maybe not a death, but an injury to another person who has to live with that injury, because not all injuries heal.
I'm an elementary school secretary, and I still remember that sick feeling that rushed through my body when I looked up that morning from my desk at about 9:15 that morning to see a deputy sheriff walk through the front doors of our school. He wasn't the usual deputy that came to our school and visited our families, and so somehow I knew something must be wrong with one of our school families, but somehow I also felt that something was wrong with my family. The deputy delivered the news to me that my son had been involved in a very serious car accident out by Eagle Crest in the early morning hours and had been airlifted to St. Charles Medical Center in Bend.
Her captive audience is listening to this mother tell about the drunk driving crash caused by her son.
As a result of the accident, Brian had hemorrhaged his spinal cord between the T11 and T12 vertebrae. He was now paralyzed from the waist down. He would most likely never walk again. I know all of you have a mother out there somewhere. Or maybe you're a mother yourself. I want you to imagine how your mother, or you as a mother, would have felt hearing this news. Brian was 26 years old with 2 children.
It's a captive audience because they're required to be here. It's a diversion class offered by the Deschutes County judicial system. But there is a catch. DAs don't like it. Diversion gives people charged with DUI the opportunity to keep their record clean, providing they abide by the rules imposed by a judge.
And you understand as well, sir, that currently the requirements for a DUI diversion, as I understand it, are 50 hours of counseling over a 6-month period of time, and you must complete that treatment program at your own expense. Also, during the year of the diversion, you cannot have any alcohol-related driving incidents. You can't have any open containers. You cannot have any charges of driving while intoxicated. And in fact, you cannot drive a motor vehicle while you have even a trace of intoxicants in your system. And the intoxicants are defined very broadly to include any controlled substance and alcohol. So for example, if you're on a prescription medication that impairs your ability to operate a motor vehicle, that can constitute a violation of diversion that would result in a conviction on the DUI. Do you understand all of that?
Yes, I do.
And do you still wish me to accept your plea of no contest to the charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I'll accept your plea, find that your plea is freely, voluntarily, and intelligently entered. There are facts to support the charge. Does the state agree to dismiss the infraction, and do you agree that he's diversion eligible?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, I'll dismiss the charge of failure to drive within lane. I will approve your application for diversion. There is a filing fee for the diversion of $458. It's in your interest to pay that in the next 30 days if at all possible.
And the numbers just keep adding up.
I'll impose $2,000 in fines plus $300 in costs, so $2,300 total, plus, let me see if there's a surcharge, plus a $35 surcharge. I'll set up a payment plan, and I'll give you a generous payment plan, but we do add a collection fee of $200 if you pay according to the payment plan.
How many of you have been shocked by the amount of money that you have had to pay because you were arrested for driving under the influence? Did any of you have any idea how expensive it would be beforehand? Ever think about it? See the ads. You know, there's public service announcements about if you drink and drive, you lose. The cost, you know, the least you'll lose is your license.
I understand this is a lifetime revocation of his driving privileges on the DUI. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, good, sir. So, sir, I'm imposing a lifetime revocation on the DUI.
The human costs of a deadly DUI are much worse.
People are screaming. There's a lot of blood. Could be regurgitation. People are in significant pain, and frequently what they have to say makes no sense at all because the agony is so bad. And I will tell you, to watch somebody die from a drunk driver will have a profound impact on how you view this problem.
If we're going to change the impact, if we're going to change people's behavior, there has to be consequences. I'm not the judge. I can't make those decisions. I'm not a legislator. However, what the system has done so far is the first time you get somewhat of a break. The second time there's higher consequences, and the consequences get stiffer as they go. And every year the state legislators are making them stiffer.
Out on patrol, officers are armed with a few tools to test for drivers under the influence, and that doesn't necessarily mean drunk. And they're in the classroom too, where they practice identifying impaired drivers with the help of volunteers who play the role of motorists suspected of DUI. Impaired is the operative word, and that can come sooner than drivers might think. In fact, the first thing affected with an impaired driver is his or her mental process, and it's the eyes that give it away.
The horizontal gaze nystagmus test is an involuntary jerkiness of the eyes. It's one of our most reliable tests. One, if you're a fit athlete, you may be able to get through a balance test a little bit easier than somebody who's not fit. If you're an experienced drinker, you may be able to appear to be normal. Your speech might appear to be clear. However, what the eyes will tell us is you can't fake that test.
It's the smaller things that impaired drivers fail to perform first, and that's what tips off the officers. Things can quickly lead to sobriety tests and more, but all of it can be avoided if motorists make the right choice before they make the decision to drink and then drive.
Well, in our society, being able to drink alcohol is legal, but it's not legal to get behind the wheel while you're under the influence of intoxicants. So you may drink alcohol if you so choose, just don't get behind the wheel of your vehicle while you're under the influence of intoxicants and drive on a public highway or a premises open to the public. Because if you do, the police will be out there. And given how many arrests they've made, they're pretty darn effective.
It is absolutely a choice whether you decide you're going to get in that vehicle and operate it, or you're going to take a taxi, or you're going to get that designated driver. But that choice has to be made before the impairment comes into the picture.